Hey, Sage.
Yeah.
Do you want to see some good cards?
Are they actually good cards?
No, not at all.
Of course not. What you got for me?
Alright, the first card I got for you is Alabaster Leech. And this, for the low price of a white mana, gives you a 1-3. But all your white spells are also going to cost a white more to cast for the rest of the game. Doesn't that sound fun?
No.
It's a 1-3 for 1. That's so much value.
The only way I could see this card being good is in that deck that gives your things to other things.
I have played it in exactly that deck. My Santa Claus deck.
Okay.
That's how I found out about this. So, yeah, doesn't this just sound like the best card to give to everyone that's not you? Alright, the next gem I have for you is, you like enchantments, right?
I love enchantments.
So how do you feel about a 3-mana enchantment that lets you draw cards?
Pretty good.
Okay.
What's the catch?
You have to pay 3 white and give your opponent 3 life every time you want to draw 1 card. It's repeatable card draw in white. Isn't that just great?
What color is the card that says your opponents can't gain life in?
Those are usually in red, I guess. So if you want to play like red-white enchantments, that does not seem good.
No, not really, no.
And there's easier ways to repeatably draw cards.
Yeah.
For less mana, probably, too.
Yeah. No, I don't see this being playable.
I think I've seen it in a Commander game, probably because it's in a precon.
Although,
I think Wizards...
I really get that flavor text. It's
yeah.
very, what's the word? Communist?
Yeah.
All must profit for peace to last.
Yeah.
How about no?
But there's peace, and you get to use this as a politics tool. There you go. You can give your opponents 3 life to leave you alone. Would you leave somebody alone in Commander for 3 life?
Probably not, unless I was playing Tristani, because then I double my life gain. But
Even then, 6 life? Would you pay 6 life to leave my Chatterfang deck alone?
no,
Okay, I didn't think so.
never.
Alright, so you know I love blue cards.
It's your favorite color, isn't it?
It is. So, and I love jellyfish particularly. They're a weird tribe. There's never going to be enough, but I do love jellyfish. So, I would like to show you why we're never going to get good jellyfish.
Okay.
So,
Don't think I can be prepared for this.
how
I'll
do you feel about 4-mana 2/2 flyers?
They're okay.
You can give it +2/+2 for the turn for free every turn if you want.
For free?
Yeah, at the low price of skipping your next untap step. Your entire untap step. But you get a 4/4 flyer to block with, because if you attack with it, you can't untap it next turn. Why is it a rare? Why are all of these rares?
Are you sure you didn't have a theme for this episode? Just bad rare cards.
Oh, that'll be like the theme of my life. Bad rare cards that get into decks somehow.
I feel like there's a way to get around it in Simic, maybe? Because there's ways to untap your land at the end of your turn.
Yeah, so
technically you would skip that untap step?
No, it'll skip your untap step on your next turn, but if you have a way to turn all your lands into creatures and have an intruder alarm, then any creature coming into play will untap all your creatures and lands.
So at least there's a way to get around it.
Yeah.
Not a great way, but a way.
I mean, you're probably doing really good things to justify a really bad jellyfish. God, that's another
just trying to fly over their head.
Yeah, that's another theme of my life. Playing really good cards to justify really bad cards. I hate this card so much. I found it just for this, and I hate it so much. So, You remember how we were talking about giving your opponent's life so you could draw cards?
Uh-huh.
Have you ever wanted to let your opponent draw a card so you could gain life?
Really not a fan of giving my opponents things. Usually if I'm going to give them tokens, I flash out something that steals their tokens.
Yeah, and what makes it even better is that you're spending 3 mana and a card to give them a card, and you get 7 life. Oh boy.
No.
I feel so paid off for my 3 mana sorcery. Like, I hate cards that just gain life. I've always hated cards that just gain life. Angel's Mercy, get that out of here. But just gaining life and a downside, I mean,
That's fair.
come on.
Although if you have Narset, they can't draw a card, you just get to gain life. But I mean, you really got to be prepared for that kind of thing.
That's more of that justifying bad cards with good cards thing.
I can't help it. It's who I am.
Hey, maybe you could play it in Commander with Hull Breach. Never mind. Alright. Now, you seem like the kind of person that likes big creatures.
I love big stompy boys. You
So-
get trample and I'm in heaven.
See, that's perfect. I have a 3 mana 7/6 with Trample for you.
I feel like I'm gonna hate this.
It's so good though. That's so many stats and Trample. You just said you wanted Trample.
Yes, but knowing you, there's a downside.
I mean, on your upkeep, you have to sack it unless you sack 2 lands.
So basically, you have to find a way to give it haste, and then be ready to throw it away and replay it.
Yeah, this is, and this isn't even like a card that you can give to your opponent, because they can just sack this.
Right.
So, yeah, this is entirely unjustifiable, and more people need to know about it.
Again, unless you give it haste and plan on sacking it, and you have to be playing Graveyard Recursion.
Just play Ball Lightning.
I don't know what that is.
It's red for a 6/1 with Trample Haste and sack it at the end of the turn.
I'm writing that down later.
So, like, you have to play cards. You're playing more good cards to make your 7/6 better.
We've talked about this.
This is going to be
Although
a
I
common
guess
theme.
in Landfall, you're gonna have those extra lands anyway.
Sure. So, here's my thing.
Okay.
You attack with this and a Primeval Titan. Go get 2 lands. Then on next turn you have 2 lands to sack. And then every turn but you still can't do it in Commander because Primeval Titan's banned. Because apparently that's too good. But we had Hull Breacher for 6 months.
You gotta put the whole breacher on screen.
Okay. So, this is kind of a pet card of mine. Pet bad card.
Pet bad card. What
Okay.
bad card isn't your pet card?
So, I love useless artifacts. And I love random counters that are never going to be on another thing. So, I have Delph's Cube for you. 1 mana for an artifact. You can pay 2 and tap it to make one of your unblocked creatures deal no combat damage. But, in exchange, you get a cube counter on Delph's Cube. And what could you do with this cube counter, might I ask? You could spend 2 mana and remove a cube counter from the cube to regenerate a creature. So you've done all this work, spent 5 mana between playing it, activating it again to regenerate 1 creature, and stopped yourself from dealing some damage. Doesn't this sound great?
I'm working it in my head because
Mhm.
it sounds like garbage, but I'm over here like, okay, let's say that you did a thing with a small creature that was getting not blocked, that was going to get through, and you save that cube counter for when they start making your big things get destroyed.
Yeah, the only time I've made it work is attacking with 0 power creatures.
That's fair.
Because then they weren't going to deal damage anyways, but that's still 5 mana. Really fun with Doubling Season, I guess, because then you only have to do it once to get 2 counters.
That's fair. And I mean, really, if you're playing Doubling Season, you're in green, which means you're playing big stompies. Like
Yeah.
Galta, and Old Nabon, just really pretty things that you don't want getting blocked.
speaking of big stompy things that you might want to regenerate, Vorinclex, which doubles your counters too.
See?
Love Vorinclex.
It's not unplayable. It's just
mostly unplayable.
Also, there are artifact decks that want you to have artifacts that are cheap that do nothing really, just so you can tap them for things.
Yeah, but those usually want you to sacrifice them. Or they're for other formats because, you know, my Academy deck for Highlander, I guess, would play this. Probably, if I had creatures. I don't know. Creatures are bad. We win with Storm. Alright. Are you ready for the worst card that I've ever won a tournament with?
Yes.
Okay.
I love worst ways of winning.
Okay. So, I was winning with a life gain deck that did a bunch of whenever you gain life, do a thing.
Yeah.
So I needed a way to repeatedly gain life.
Okay.
So I found Juju Bubble, which is a 1-mana artifact with cumulative upkeep of 1. So for anyone that doesn't know, you put a counter on it every turn, then you have to pay its cumulative upkeep cost for each counter, or sacrifice it. And you can pay 2 mana to gain 1 life, which, not a great rate, but it's fine. It's a cheap artifact.
You don't have to tap it, so you can do it a bunch in one turn.
You can. There is one more downside. Whenever you play any card, sacrifice Juju Bubble.
It doesn't say sacrifice.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, we said bury. I thought bury was where you put it back in your deck.
No, that's the old wording for sacrifice.
Oh.
Yeah.
I learned a new thing today.
And that says play a card, not cast a spell. That includes playing a land.
What?
Yep.
Why?
If any card leaves your hand to go into play in any way, Juju Bubble is gone. And I have won games with this card.
Wait, hold up, does that count when you like have something foretold and you flip it over?
Yep. That is playing a spell. It also counts flashback.
Wizards, I have questions. Why? And also, how did you win? This is a story I need.
So,
sorry, guys.
I was playing a deck that had a bunch of things like whenever you gain life, do a thing. I had a bunch of like the creatures that are when you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. So if you have a couple of those out and activate Juju Bubbles 6 times in a turn, that's 12 damage to them. I mean, it's not the worst. It's not good.
The best.
This is again more justifying bad cards with good cards. But I've won games with it.
But explain that flavor text to me. That doesn't even make sense to this card. Like, I love when the flavor text actually go with the card.
I have nothing for you. Maybe.
But
Okay,
it's from
so
a wedding ceremony.
yeah,
What
so
they do, get left at the altar?
maybe when they're at their wedding ceremony, they have to like, you know how like some people like when they get married they have to like smash the glass or whatever.
Yes.
So maybe they have to like smash the bad Juju Bubble. I want to smash a Juju Bubble.
If you don't do that at your wedding, I'm gonna be disappointed.
All right. So, what would you do to draw as many cards as you want? In black.
In black?
Yeah. Well,
usually for card draw in black, it's life or sacrificing a creature.
Yeah. This is life.
5
mana instant, so 1-shot effect. You can pay as much life as you want to draw as many cards as you want.
That doesn't sound great. It's already very expensive.
Yeah. Also, you can only cast it during your end step.
But it's an instant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't the whole point of an instant being able to play it whenever?
You would think, but I get what they're referring to. It's a reference to Necropotence letting you get the cards on your end step before discard.
I mean,
Oh yeah, you also have to discard after this because it's in your end step before cleanup.
that means you can't really draw more than, like, if this was the only card in your hand, you could draw 7.
Yeah.
Unless you had, like, a Reliquary Tower or
Yeah.
the spiky bubble. Thought Vessel?
Thought Vessel.
Ah,
Yeah.
I got it. I need to see.
Or Spellbook.
Spellbook. Oh, I love Spellbook.
But yeah, that's way too many hurdles to draw. Not enough cards.
Yeah.
And you still have to pay life for all of them.
And you had to have 5 mana left open at your end step.
Yeah, that you don't want to do. That you don't want to use any of these cards that you're drawing on your opponent's turn.
Yeah. What? I could get it if you were going for like a themed, not good deck.
Maybe.
Which, you know, we do way too often.
Yeah.
But like other than that, I really just
Yeah.
I don't even have words.
Okay. Hear me out.
Okay, I'm listening.
You're in. So you have a Laboratory Maniac
Mhm.
and more life than cards in your deck. You could use this to draw. Necropotence won't do that because technically you don't draw them. I think this is the most efficient way to do that.
Yeah, because like okay, you play lab
Yeah.
man, and then I'm going to my end step, and people are like, okay, there are only like 3 cards left in your deck. They're worried you've got open mana. First of all, you're in Dimir minimum,
Yeah.
and they're like, okay, cool, we got another turn to destroy lab man.
Yeah.
And you're just like, bam, draw my last 3 cards.
The one problem with that, though, that I will say, is that it is an additional cost to cast this. You pay X life. So to make it even worse, if they counter it, you've paid the life for nothing. Or if they kill the lab man, you've paid the life to kill yourself. Or they can kill you before the spell's resolved.
Yeah, you got me there.
Yeah,
I try to make these cards good, I just can't.
I'm sorry. You know how people like to win the game.
Do they? I thought we just
Yeah.
played for fun.
I know, but
People win?
yeah,
I've never done
usually with damage. So sometimes you want to prevent that.
Okay.
Okay, so I give you the Racolite. This is a 6-mana artifact
6 mana. Are you... Okay, I'm prepared.
that you can pay 2 mana to prevent the next 1 damage that would be dealt to any target this turn. You can even protect your stuff. And you have to return Racolite to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. You can do it as many times as you want in a turn
So it's bare minimum 8 mana
to prevent 1 damage, yes.
for 1 damage.
Yep.
Can we pull up some cards that do that better?
Oh, of course.
Awesome, let's do
course.
that.
Alright, so we want to find cards that prevent damage, huh?
Mm-hmm. You could spell.
I can't.
That's fair.
Alright. Alright. So, let's see.
So many options.
How about, for a one-shot effect, X white white to prevent the next X damage? So for 8 mana, you could prevent 6 damage instead of 1.
That sounds decent. That sounds fair.
Or any fog effect that has ever been printed.
Fair. They're usually pretty cheap, but it's all combat damage.
Yeah, that's usually like 1, 2 mana for some side effects, maybe.
Although I guess we're not necessarily talking about combat damage, we're just saying damage.
Yeah.
Prevent the next 2.
Yeah, see? All of these seem so much better.
Like the only way I could even think about playing that one is if you were going for artifacts, but then there's Balm of Restoration, which is 2, and you know.
You have to sacrifice it, but sometimes that's a good thing.
Yeah, but in artifact decks, you're usually getting the back out of your graveyard.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing an upside to this one.
That's the point. You're
No.
not supposed to.
Okay, but like Wizards was supposed to.
Yeah, they're bad at this. Haven't you learned that?
Okay, let's not hate on Wizards. We might want them to like care about us at some point.
Oh,
Bring it on.
alright, I saved the best for last. You like big green creatures, right?
That cannot be argued.
So, this is a 4-mana creature
Mm-hmm.
that can be as big as you want.
Uh-huh.
Okay? So, for your 4 mana, when it enters the battlefield, sacrifice any number of untapped forests, and its power and toughness are equal to the number of forests you sacked when it entered. So, on top of your 4 mana, you have to leave the rest of your mana open to have this be anything.
Okay, I can understand why this was bad when it was printed, but hear me out. Wasn't there just an elf that makes all your other elves, or all your creatures, also forests?
Yeah, there's a Shia.
Boom.
Okay, I tell you what. I played this in a Shia. You know what happened after I sacked all my stuff to try to make this like a 15-15?
Uh-huh.
It died to removal after I sacked 15 creatures to it.
Things die to removal, you gotta protect your things. Hexproof, haste, shroud. I don't know why I said haste, that would
I had
work.
to sack 15 creatures.
And it's not my fault you didn't think about removal options, bud. Everything dies to removal.
That's not true. I played
Most
Dungeon of Valor.
things-
Yes, Hexproof.
Most things die to removal. That cannot be everybody's argument every time.
Okay, but creatures that have bad enter the battlefield effects, dying to removal is usually like my nail in the coffin.
Okay, I get why it's bad, but it's not the worst. And you told me the last one was going to be the worst. It is playable. It's not your best option, but if you have no open mana because you played a bunch of other things, and you got a bunch of creatures that you can't do anything with. I had a creature get turned into a 0/1 indestructible bug the other day.
I would rather that than this.
You know what? Well, we're two different people. We're allowed to have two different opinions.
At least I could block with the O1 forever,
I was
and it
gonna,
won't die to
But it
removal.
was my Ayara, and I was sad.
Alright,
But like, why? Like, this one makes sense.
Yeah.
This community rating, half star.
yeah, like, I get it. These are all bad cards.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Yeah, no,
none of
makes
them
sense.
can be justified. I get people liking this more than like the Juju Bubble, stuff like that.
Right.
I don't get how this even has 1.5 stars. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. People might have weird attachment to it.
It tracks, you know,
It's a jellyfish. I understand.
but 4.5
Yeah. Yep.
or 3.5.
Yeah.
My bad, not 4.5.
For-
3.5.
Yeah,
This one I figured out. I'm getting this one, so I can't say anything because I'm buying this card.
but
This is where it bugs me.
yeah.
5.
How can somebody justify this to me?
It's called Hot Takes on Hot Garbage. Leave your hot take in the comments and tell me why this is 5 stars. Tell me how you are making this 5-star worthy. Please, anybody, I don't care. Tell me how.